Hi, so I'm going to show you how to set up your GQueues. Very simply, need you to come in here and in your My Queues section, these may be a little differently ordered when you first open up GQueues, but My Queues is in here, and in your My Queues you want to create new categories by clicking on the Add Category option here. You want to add Next Actions, Projects, and Team, these three at least, or actually Next Actions and Projects at a minimum. Team may not be applicable to you, and then areas we may cover later. But next actions and projects are what you should add. Then for each of these two categories, you should add work, home, and if you have a side hustle, like you're working on your MBA, you're coaching an after-school program, whatever it might be, that's what this could be right here. These are these context-based cues that are discussed in the Getting Things Done methodology. And then you want to make your work projects, home projects, and side hustle projects. Make those colors correspond with the ones up here. That'll make sense later. And then a someday maybe category, as you've also hopefully heard about with Getting Things Done. All right. Once you have created this category, again you click the arrow, categories are created here. And then once you've created the categories, then you create the cues by clicking the arrow, Add Cue. And then on the queue, you can, of course, scroll down here and pick those colors. So that's how you do those three things. So next action should have at work, at home, and then side hustle. You could also have at phone or other context-based cues that make sense to you based on getting things done and how it applies to you. But I would submit that these are the three basic categories that you probably want, or at least work and home. And then again, projects, home projects, etc. So that gets you set up working from your basic cues, and then within each cue is where you can begin working. So you would click on work and you would add the tasks that apply to what you're doing. It's pretty straightforward. And let's say, let me take a step back here. Your inbox is where all of your stuff ends up, and you can also leave your inbox open and work directly from it. There's a link to a Loom video. Let's say we're creating this task right here. So if I hit the tab button, new task, there we go. And let's say this is okay, you notice there it dated the task for me. It'll do this automatically as a function as well. Let's say we're working in here, we're capturing our tasks, and we're all done for the morning. And this is a work-related task, so we're going to drop it into our work queue. Next actions, it's not a project, it's just completed. It is a standalone work task, as you can see here. Standalone work task, not related to a project. So we're going to drop it into our work queue. And we're at work, so we've got our work queue open, and we're just working from this today. And I'll click the reorder one more time, and it'll cinch up our dates so they all align. And you can see here we've got a number of tasks that we've captured in our work queue. One that was due yesterday, so that's overdue. You can see it's red. One that's due today, it's green, and then everything else that's due tomorrow, 3 days, 4 days, into the future are all just gray right here. I don't have times assigned to them, and that's something we'll talk about later, but dates right now are the only thing I've assigned. And when you're in the bottom queue and you hit the tab button, you can easily create a new task. And then if you type tomorrow at 1 p.m., it's real smart, and it's going to do all that stuff for me over there. But we don't want this task right now. That's just an example. But you can see here, all the stuff related to work is nicely bundled in our work area. You want to do the same thing with those tasks that apply to your home life. So they are also, again, segmented out, nicely bundled area. And you can see the same logic applies. Yesterday is overdue. Today is green. Tomorrow is gray, and so on and so forth. I've used these emojis and other things so that when I show you some more things, they kind of pop and it makes sense. So if you did nothing else and you had a next actions queue, category, with your work and your home cues, that's the bare minimum. That's all you need, and you can get work done. Because you can pop back and forth. Well, I'm at home, or I'm at work. So what do I need to work on? And your list pops up. And I'm recording videos, so there may be some delays. But here it is. Here's what I got to work on. In priority, right? In order. Oh, I'm at home now. What do I work on? Here we go. It's very straightforward. Just so simple. It's so simple it just might work. Anyhow, so that's next actions and queues. Now let's talk about projects and queues. Same philosophy. I'm at work. Let me click on my work projects. Here you can see that I have a work project or outcome, which is what some people like to refer to their projects as. What is the outcome we're seeking, right? In any event, so work project or outcome, I've given it this little task clipboard emoji so that it pops as well. And then we have work project subtask to complete tomorrow, and you can see that it's dated. So today is the 26th, by the way, of September. So this is dated for tomorrow. This one is dated 5 days, 3 days, 7 days. Excuse me. And I want to see these in order, so I'll just click the reorder by date. And all these buttons up here do fun stuff as well. Hopefully I'll touch on most of them as I move through this quick tutorial. But here are all the subtasks, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, for this work project or outcome. What's really neat is if you got a good template set up, you could then just click the duplicate task, duplicate open subtasks. Yep. Now we have that same project all set up, and we can just rename the things, update the dates, and there you go. But we are going to get rid of this because we don't need this. So this is what happens when you mark a task complete. You can change the functionality such that it disappears as well, and that's in the settings. I'm going to mark this task complete just so you can see how that works. And then if we were to mark the top level parent task complete, the whole thing it asks us first, whoa, mark this task and all of its subtasks complete. Yep. So there we go. So we're in our work projects. Again, projects are anything that is greater than one step, and all those related tasks are grouped together here to help us visually see that project. Home projects, the same way. Home project or outcome, home project subtask to complete tomorrow. And as you can see here, I failed to come in and date this for tomorrow, so I'll do that now. Just change the date there. You can select times as well, and these are great when you start time blocking, but I would challenge you, if you have not time blocked before or you're not good with a task manager, to start with task management first and not time block. So here we go. We've dated that for tomorrow so it's correctly dated, and then this should be dated in 3 days from now. So doing the public math, let's see, tomorrow, 2 days, 3 days. There we go. And this one is in 5 days. I know they don't totally match up at this point, but you understand, or this will make sense in a moment. So here's our home tasks, or our home project tasks, anything with more than any project with more than one step. And then we have our side hustle projects, and you can see here this one is similar. We don't have tasks in all the days, but just building all of these out so that in a moment this makes sense. But you can see everything is dated. Everything has a date. That is what is critical here. And I'm going to tie all this together here in a second. These dates, dating every task when it comes in here or when you create it. And there are different ways to create tasks. You can do it by doing it from your inbox right here. You could be in this queue and you could create a new task. And you could do it from your phone, and then it's going to show up in your inbox unless you modify it to show up in a queue. But the least amount of steps is on your phone, voice dictation. You punch the microphone on a widget. It opens a task. You tell it what you want, and then you say tomorrow at 2 p.m., today at 1 p.m. It hears you, it captures the task, and then it dates it for the date that you gave it. And those dates are critical, and you're going to see why in a second. Finally, other ways, Alt-Shift-T is the assigned shortcut that I gave to GQueues. So when I press Alt-Shift-T, it happens a lot quicker when I'm not shooting video, but this little widget pops up, and then I can tell the task, I can type in whatever I want it to be, and then create task. So do this thing. I could assign it if I wanted to. I always want to put a due date in here. In this case, I'm just going to make this one for today, create task, and I'm all done. I could do another one if I wanted to, but as you can see, it shows up here in my inbox. And then all I have to do is drop it into the correct queue where it belongs. I'm sorry, yes, correct queue. So this is done. We're in our inbox. Okay, and final place the task could come from your email. The subject line will be the task, and the body of the email will be in the notes section. And then it will take it a second, but it'll show up over here. And while we're waiting for that, oh, there it is. So as you can see, here's the task, and then here are the notes related to the task that was in the body of the email, just as I described. Okay, this is done, so we're going to mark it done. Before I do that, anything else? So this right here shows us the notes associated. We could attach things. We can make comments if we're working collaboratively. We can apply tags, which I never do. It just complicates things. And we could assign this to somebody. I'll go ahead and assign it to my wife. And what else here? Add subtask, duplicate the task, task overview, link, and activity. And we're going to mark this as done. Now, we've talked about next actions. We've talked about projects. And here is where we win the day. And that is with, well, let me talk about one more thing. Team. So on my team, I have a guy named Josh and a lady named Adrian. And you can see that Josh on this team has a number of assigned tasks. And the way that tasks are assigned, you can see his email address is right here. And there's a little person which tells you it's been assigned to somebody. You can assign the task to more than one person. And as you can see, it remembers who I've assigned tasks to. So I could assign this to Adrian as well. And then we'll see those show up over here. I could unassign her by clicking it off or clicking the check mark. But assign tasks, there we go. Today, 30 days, 60 days. And I've used these, again, these emojis to make it pop and help you see that these are way out in the future. And this is all going to make sense in a minute. So here's Adrian. And she has a task due tomorrow, 60 days, and 90 days. And again, there's a little person that denotes that she has been assigned these tasks. And when these people that are assigned tasks receive these and they show up in their queues, in their assignments queues, which is down here, or assigned queues, they can make comments via the comments block here. You can also see the activity that's gone along with the queue. A nice little way to work collaboratively. Right here, I could add a comment. Please do not forget. They would get a notification based on their settings, which you can tweak. I would suggest, once you get used to these, turning off all the emails. Maybe leave the notification bell here on, just so it doesn't become cumbersome. Because when you start getting emails based on tasks, that's not cool. The alert for a new task, perhaps, but otherwise you may want to tweak those settings in the settings, and I'll spend another video talking about settings. All right, so we're going to close that dialog box. We can see there's a comment because it tells us there. If we were to attach something, we could do that from Google Drive, Docs, Sheets, so on and so forth. I just, most of the time, put links in here, and I'll show you what a link looks like. Right here, you can see there's a link. You can see it's a Google Sheet. It's very handy. They do a great job in GQueues of making this stuff pop, and it'll open up, and there you go. I don't want to talk about that right now. So I'm going to move back to where I was, and again, pardon because we're videoing, so things are a lot slower. All right, I don't want to talk about areas right now. What I do want to talk about is smart queues. So I hit it for myself. So here we go. We're going to go to smart queues, and I have these are the ones that I use. And to be honest with you, pretty much just use today and then doing 7. But the doing 2 is there for you, and you can do any permutation thereof. Any of these, once you understand how it works, along with team. So what is the today queue? The today queue, so I'm going to edit this, but you create these underneath your smart queues. Some are given to you when you start out. I deleted most of those. And so let me show you here. Today, I'm going to edit this. I've called it today. It's a general queue. It's from my entire account. That are assigned to anyone. I'm not picking selected assignments with dates from the beginning of time. And that's most important because this queue will capture any task that is due in the future based on the time parameters, and of course anything that is overdue. So by using from the beginning of time, you disallow yourself to ever miss a task. You'll never overlook it because it's going to pull in any tasks from the beginning of time. And this will make sense in a second. But what's most important here to make this work is you have to date your tasks. So by dating your tasks and then using this smart queue, you will never miss a task. So with dates from the beginning of time to the end of today, and that's my today queue. So the today aligns with the name, today, all right, with or without tags. So that's how we set up the today queue. Save. Now, when I click on the today queue, what do you think is going to show up in there? You're absolutely right. Every task that is due today or that is overdue. Nicely bundled by category. So next actions for work. I need to complete that standalone task from yesterday that's overdue. As you can see here, it's red. That standalone task, work task from today, I need to work on. That's due today. You can see it's green over here. Then there's some stuff from home, my side hustle, and also that task that I assigned to Josh is coming due today as well. Just by clicking on this smart queue, I can get a quick snapshot of what's coming up today and what is overdue. So if I start my day with this view right here, I can easily see what's going on. Of course, then I can deep dive into each individual queue if I need to. You know, you can certainly redate or update the dates from right here if you want to. Or you could jump into that work queue and move some stuff around. This thing actually needs to be done tomorrow. This thing needs to be done in a week instead, and you can move some stuff around. But ultimately, these smart queues are where you could operate from and keep everything compartmentalized based on, of course, where it belongs and based on date. Doing two. I get a little bit of a bigger picture. What's due today and what's due tomorrow. Okay, I see all this stuff coming up. Very good, very good. And you can see here these work projects start to pop up. So subtask for this work project is due tomorrow, and then home project is due tomorrow, and then I can see that Adrian's task is also coming up as well. Let me talk to her about that. So nice way to keep your stuff organized and never miss a task, because everything that's red here is what's overdue. And as long as you date your tasks, you'll never miss a task. This becomes your next action. This becomes your next action. Vice any type of tagging or any other methodology that might also be a thing. I know the video for GQueues talks about tagging and dropping and moving queues. This eliminates any moving of queues so that your tasks are just ready for you, and there's minimal messing around within GQueues, your task manager. All right, doing 7. It's Monday. I want to see what's coming up this week. Okay, cool. So at work, what do I have on my plate at work? Here's what I got on my plate. Yep, this all makes sense. Here's the things that are going on this week at home that I need to take care of. Here's some things that are happening with my side hustle. I've got something that's overdue, something that's due today, and something due in 7 days. My work projects, I can see those subtasks there that I need to be working on or doling out. From here, I could just very easily assign a task to Josh. And so on and so forth. How this becomes very handy is, well, actually, let me pause for a moment. So we've talked about time-specific queues. And I'm going to show you one more that you might want to create. So we'll call this the overdue queue. Maybe you don't want to see all the overdue tasks in your today list. So maybe you change that time period, and maybe in here instead, from the beginning of time to the end of yesterday. So just everything that is overdue, right? And we'll call this the overdue queue. And I'll make it a nice dark red because you're in trouble. There we go. There's all the stuff that we miss. And you could look at this in a different fashion, but ultimately it's clear how these time-based queues work. I don't use this. Like I said, I mix it in. I mix in my overdue stuff with all of my forward-looking stuff because it's still got to happen. So that's how mine works. The last piece here is teams. So this queue, edit, The name is team. The type is general. It includes tasks from my entire account that are assigned to anyone. So check mark, that are assigned to anyone. With or without dates, with or without tags, save. Guess what shows up in this queue? You're absolutely right. Every task that I've doled out. So this becomes an incredibly powerful meeting running tool. You're late for that meeting that started 2 minutes ago. You pull up your phone, you click on your team queue, and you go, Josh, how's that task coming that is due today? I'm working on it, man. I'm almost done. I just need one more thing from you, and I need X, Y, Z. Hey, you got it. Here you go. Have a good day. Please don't forget about the one coming up in 30 days. Yep, I'm tracking that. Hey, Adrian, you got a task coming due tomorrow. You're still looking good for that, right? Yep, I'm looking good. And you could get fancy in here with time-based and assignments, but I try to keep everything simple. If you had a large team, you could just look for those things that are coming up, do status checks. But hopefully it's pretty clear the value of the team-based queue that just draws in any number of people that are on your team that have assigned queues. Yeah, pretty straightforward. That's all the stuff to set up in your queues. I'm hesitant. I will touch on areas for just a second. This is the most important stuff. Next actions and projects. Next action. Everything could be a project. Anything with one more step could be a project. However, there's a guy named Tiago Forte who developed a organization system called PARA, which is projects, actions, resources, and archives. Projects and areas are things that have actionability. Projects, more actionability, areas a little bit less. They are like things that you take care of, like your finances or your home, whereas projects are things that you're actively working on, even though your finances could include something that you are actively working on. But projects are those things that are just a little bit more actionable. Why do I say all this? Because of the ability to put dates and reminders and reoccurring tasks into GQueues, it becomes very easy to organize those things that we forget about that happen in the background of our lives or that we don't want to forget about. What does that mean? So for working home, a lot of us, if you own a house, might have some home maintenance activities that you need to take care of on an annual basis, but you just don't need to be thinking about all that often. So this areas you can call that perhaps your autopilot as well, but projects and areas. So in the home area, you can see here that I have those home maintenance activities that occur each year, just a short list. Change the HVAC air filter quarterly. And you can see here that this reoccurring task happens every 3 months on day 1 of the month. So once I click this task complete, it is going to regenerate that same task down here. And then if I hold the shift button and mark it complete, now it's completely gone. And this task will just keep regenerating every 3 months, and I don't have to think about it until it becomes due. So this is a way of pulling out things that you could consider projects. Like I could drop this home maintenance activities into home projects. Not a big deal. Okay, yep, it's a project. But I really don't deal with this a lot. I'm not thinking about it. It's not front of mind. It's just less urgent more often than not. So I keep it in that area queue. And then I've also got a condo rental with maintenance activities there that, again, I don't need to look at every day or during my weekly review. This is stuff I don't need to review. As you learned in GTD, your weekly review, you really should be in that. Here's where you should be. And there should be a number of work projects, and then, how do these tasks look for the week? Not things that, just kind of happen on a recurring basis that you don't have to think anew about. These projects have been solved. They're projects in automation. There you go. So anyhow, areas, this is just an example. Change home HVAC. You can see I've got a link here, and it'll take me to a little spreadsheet that keeps me organized with regard to my home battle rhythm. I'll let that load up. We'll come back here. And then lawn maintenance. So I've got the phone number, the name of the POC, point of contact, in the notes section. And then schedule and termite inspection for spring. And if I was smart, I would have put the number and contact info in there as well. Although, whenever this thing loads, you'll see that I've got a point of contact sheet that's linked there as well. All right, going in a little bit too much detail. The goal was to get you set up with your GQueues and maximize use most correctly. Let's see, the work area. One more example to close this out. And the longer this video gets, the slower my computer becomes. We are almost there. I shouldn't have opened that spreadsheet. Okay. If I hit the period and X button, you see that now I can see all of my ongoing areas that I am responsible for at work without diving into the sub-steps. But then I can click on X and period again, and there are my sub-steps for my lunch and learn that I manage at work. But this is a project that I have solved for. Now it's just an ongoing area that I maintain, right? So on a regular basis, these tasks will populate my calendar and remind me to complete first. This is an annual task right here. I'll develop next year's lunch and learn training topics. First Thursday in September. So that's when this reminder pops, is every September, the first Thursday in September, it's going to remind me to develop next year's training topics. Then all the subtasks for actually completing a lunch and learn once a month. So you'll see on the first Thursday, I'm reminded to pick a topic and draft slides for the next lunch and learn. Then on the second Thursday of the month, I'll be reminded to complete slides for the next lunch and learn. Then I will be reminded on the third Thursday to finish my speaking notes and finalize slides on the third Thursday. And then on the fourth Thursday of the month, last Thursday of the month, which is really the fourth, I'll be reminded in the morning to rehearse and validate that all is prepared for the next lunch and learn. And as I mark these tasks complete, they will all regenerate anew down below. If I hold the shift button, that marks them done for good. The reason those remain strike through is if you're working with a team, you can see who has completed other tasks without them actually disappearing. So there's my lunch and learn activities, annual reviews. Sorry. Looks like I just marked that done accidentally. No big deal. I could hit refresh. I don't know how long it's going to take to refresh, but completed tasks all end up in the archive, which is neat too, because you can always search for anything that you've ever done from right here, and then you can tell it you want to look in the archived or the active, and the ability to retrieve will always exist. So let me do this real quick here. There we go. Not sure why that disappeared there. Oh, I indented it. There we go. Be careful what you touch. All right, so again, X and period is going to period then X. I get it that mixed up occasionally. So lunch and learn, there's all my subtasks. Complete annual reviews, there's all my subtasks when we do these actions with the employees or whatnot. This is also helpful areas. So when I write my annual review, I know what I'm in charge of here, or what I've maintained throughout the year, in conjunction with the work projects that I've also completed, because I can go here to see what I've done at the end of the year as well. All right, I think I'm done on the areas piece. If I can click somewhere that's not, there we go. The last one is maintain ISO certification. So this is just the ultimate level layer of I don't want to say complication, but you can get really complex, right? And that's why I would challenge you, if you're new, just stick with the next actions, and then when you're ready for it, go to projects, But if it makes sense, just organizationally, to get that stuff out of there that you're not actively working on or developing or solving for, right? Those things that just happen throughout the year, administratively perhaps, this areas is the way to do that. And the last piece here, if you've got a very complex area, like maintaining an ISO certification, again, it's a little slower because I am shooting video here. You can see that I do all caps for the parent level task. That is helpful because when you are in the Smart Queues, it lists those parent tasks here, and you can actually click on them and go directly to them. So I list them in all I write them in all caps just so it is a little bit clearer to me that this is a parent or this is an outcome or a project, right? So in the areas area, as it relates to that ISO certification, there are sub areas. I got to do an annual surveillance audit, annual workforce engagement survey, quarterly customer feedback, quarterly management review, and all these things have supporting tasks. So here you go. And these are the things that happen on a recurring basis. I don't ever make these tasks recurring, just the supporting tasks. And that's about as complicated as GQueues can get. And these things just show up when they're ready to be done. I mark them done, and they happen automatically over here. They regenerate tasks and tell me every year what I need to do. It's pretty magical. All right, that's GQueues. I hope all of this stuff was very helpful. I will walk through settings in a different video. Thanks for your time, and happy getting things done.